Hey man, getting good at Pro Tools is a lot like playing your favorite video game, but you got to know the cheat codes. What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Wavy Wayne from Wavy.wav, and this channel is all about helping you to record and mix better and faster. Now, today we're going to be focusing on that better and faster part, like we do always, but specifically faster, right? I'm going to be showing y'all some cheat codes that I really wish I knew earlier before as I was getting started with Pro Tools. So, this is 9 of my top things that I think will help to increase your productivity when it comes to editing, recording, mixing, and just saving you time and being more efficient in your Pro Tools session. Now, everything is not about being fast, but when it comes to being creative, you want to essentially remove any roadblocks out of your way. So that's why I focus so heavily on speed and efficiency when you're working in your DAW. You can take all the time you want to, but that creative spark may go away if it takes you too long to figure out how to execute an idea. So, the more that we practice using our tools and we're able to just let these tools that we use, specifically Pro Tools today, become an extension of ourselves, then we'll be more equipped to just get our ideas out and make them make sense in this digital world that we are working in. All right. So let's jump into Pro Tools and I'm gonna start running down my top 9 things that I feel will help to make you a whole lot faster. These are basically the cheat codes to using Pro Tools. Let's get into it. All right. So one of the things that I love to do, and I was just talking to one of my students in the Wavy Skills Elite about this the other day, is that he reached out and was saying, "Man, I'm having this problem. This client, they have basically auto tune on every single track, and that's similar to this session that I'm working on right now. If you look at it, there's auto tune on all of these vocals, with the exception of one of them where it's bypassed. Your computer could really start to get bogged down by having these processes on the track. So here's a really dope feature in modern Pro Tools that allows you to free up some of your CPU resources, especially for stuff like auto tune. Because his question was, with it being on every track, can I just set up a sub master and just put the auto tune on one track? I don't recommend that at all. Some stuff needs to be individual. Like, I feel like individual compression often works better than just compression on a sub master, and also using auto tune that works a lot better than compression on a than just putting it on a sub master too. Because every track, no matter if they're singing the same thing, the performances are going to be a little different, and so you just want that plugin to react on an individual basis. Okay, so in this case, what we're going to do is going to be called the commit function. Now, there's a couple of ways that we can do this. I'm going to show you one easy way, but basically, let's just say typically auto tune is going to be one of the first plugins that I put on a track. If you go up to that auto tune plugin or any plugin for it, it could be anything, right? You can right click on it and hit commit up to this insert, right? Now, basically, what that will do is give you a whole new track. I'm gonna show y'all in a second what it'll do. I'm gonna actually go over to the edit window here. So let's just work on. Imagine that we're working on this track here with the verse on it. We'll bring that auto tune back, and what I'll do is right click on my auto tune, hit commit up to this insert. I get this dialog that pops up that asks me like, "Hey, what do I want to do to commit this?" But basically, when you choose to commit, Pro Tools is going to make a new audio file with the auto tune already printed on there. And then we'll have the ability to have a new track with all the other plugins so we can still tweak them along our process of mixing or creating whatever we're doing. But we won't have to have that auto tune plugin on there anymore. It'll be already committed. This is also good if you're going to be sending this off to somebody. Imagine like you sing and you just really need that auto tune and you don't want any chances of them taking the auto tune off of what you've done. Commit that auto tune, or again, whatever plugin it is. Also, this is dope like if you're using virtual instruments or some type of rare plugin that somebody you might be collaborating might not have. So again, all I did, let me just backtrack a little bit. I right click on that auto tune plugin or whatever plugin it is you want to commit, and I hit commit up to this insert. You can choose, hey, if it was separated clips, they'll consolidate the clips. You can copy the sends because now we're going to be making a new track, right? And then the source track is going to hide and make inactive. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just say to make it inactive so we can still see it. It's going to do it offline so that it's faster than real time. And I'm going to hit OK. Once that renders down, you'll be able to see, boom. So here's the old track right here with the auto tune on it. It's inactive now, so none of the processes or anything on here are, they're not using up any other resources on my computer. So that's nice to know. But this new track, it already has the auto tune sound baked into the audio file, right? It's a brand new audio file with the auto tune in it, and you'll see that auto tune plugin is now removed from this new track. There's another way to do this too, so let me backtrack. And let's just make this one active again. So instead of committing, maybe you want to freeze. So we can freeze an entire track by going over to the track. Where's my little freeze icon? Oh, here it is. I was blind for a second. But you can go over to the track, and to the left of the voice selector here, you can hit that little button, and basically that will freeze the whole track. Now, what that means is basically it's going to temporarily render down all of the effects processes that you have on that track, right? It's not going to create a new track, but you see that now that I've frozen it, the whole track, I can't mess with any of these plugins, so I can't adjust anything else. So that might be one thing if you know, like, hey, I just need to temporarily freeze this, because the dope thing is you can always unfreeze it, right? But maybe I just want to freeze up to this insert, right? So let's do that. And now that track is partially frozen. And to me, this is a much better way to kind of go about this workflow, because by freezing this track or up to that particular insert, no, I don't have the ability to change this particular plugin anymore. But if I need to at any point without having to go back and add tracks and stuff, I can just unfreeze it, right? Do whatever changes that I need to do, and then freeze it again. And that will, again, by freezing that track, it releases the demand on the CPU, freeing up your resources so you can do other things in your session. This is a super incredible hack, especially if you are, sorry, I should have just froze it to that insert, but you get it, right? Especially if you are running low on CPU, using freeze or committing in your Pro Tools session will really take a lot of load off of your computer. Another task that I really love that really makes things faster in Pro Tools is the ability to bounce MIDI to audio. Now, let's say that I'm working on a production and I'm using virtual instruments like this one that you see here at the bottom of my session. Let me bring it up to the top just to make things a little easier to see, right? Let me zoom in. So I have this terrible piano performance that I'm not gonna play because, as you see, it's just me. I drew these notes in, but a lot of times if I'm collaborating with somebody else, another producer, another engineer or something, and I have MIDI in my session, I don't want to send them MIDI and hope that that they have the same virtual instruments that I started off using. I want to make sure that I go ahead and commit this MIDI down to audio. Another dope reason why you might want to commit your MIDI to audio is because it gives you the ability to do audio processing. So I can like use some audio suite effects to do stuff and edit it as audio. And it just working with audio is just a much better resolution than working with MIDI. So you can get way finer detail when you edit and processing audio than you can with MIDI. So with the MIDI, what I'm basically going to do here is really simple. All I need to do is create a audio track that is the same width as the MIDI or instrument track that I'm coming from. So in this case, I'm using a stereo instrument track. I'm going to create a stereo audio track, right? And let's just name this real quick. I'm gonna name this my piano. And basically, watch how easy this is. I didn't mean to make two of them. Whatever though. All right, bet we don't need to. All right, so basically, watch how easy this is. I'm gonna drag this piano clip, this MIDI clip down, and boom. This MIDI has now been converted to audio. I don't need this anymore. Now I can use this audio clip. This is the audio of whatever this output of this MIDI is, and it's going to sound just like it did now. But the ability to edit is now I can edit in audio. I can process audio instead of working with MIDI clips. And if I choose to share this session with someone else, they will undoubtedly have the files correctly because I'm not relying on them to have the same virtual instruments and sounds and samples that I use because I've committed it to audio. Yeah. Now, in order to use this, I'll just give you a little side note. You need to make sure that you install the Melodyne. I think it's like a light version of Melodyne that is included for free when you purchase your Pro Tools, whether it's a subscription or whatever. But when you have a modern Pro Tools license, you do also have a license to Melodyne, and this feature is powered by that. Now, this also works in reverse though. So let me come down here a little bit. I'm gonna move this clip because this does work in reverse too. So let's just say I had a nice audio performance that I wanted to convert to MIDI. I can just simply drag that up to a MIDI track, right? And then we'll say this is melodic. We'll just keep it on automatic though. I can drag my audio up to a MIDI track and boom, look, it's damn near perfect to the way that it came out, right? The way that I processed it before. So really, really powerful stuff here. This can be used to like make a harmony. So if this was like a vocal harmony or something like that, now I can convert that audio over to MIDI and then transpose it or anything like that, do some rearrangements. It's really, really powerful. All right. So converting MIDI to audio, converting audio to MIDI, really dope hack in Pro Tools. All right, now this next hack, man, this next hack, man, I don't even know if I should tell y'all this. Or I might just need to make y'all sign up for the Pro Tools certification course because this is the type of lessons that you will only learn if you come to get certified with me in my official Avid User Pro Tools certification course, which is enrolling right now. You can step your game up in a systematic way, step by step. I'll teach you all the things that you need to know to be a proficient user of Pro Tools. Now, and I don't care what level you at. If you've been using it for years, you're gonna get better. You're gonna learn some hacks that you never thought of. Here's one right here that a lot of people don't know. Oftentimes we need to find the tempo of audio file, right? Pro Tools has a little secret that allows us to find the tempo of the audio file using Elastic Audio. Basically, what you want to do is I'm gonna come up here and go to the track, and I'm gonna use the track's Elastic Audio plugin selector. I'm gonna activate that, and we're gonna just set it to polyphonic. If you want to learn more about Elastic Audio, make sure that you tap in with me in my official Pro Tools certification course. The track went offline for a second. Pro Tools analyzed it. I'm gonna select it and then go over here to my clips list. And by selecting it, it'll be selected in the clips list as well. And what I want to do is just simply right click on that file in the clips list and hit reveal in workspace. It's going to open up the workspace browser and have that file selected. And basically what I want to do is just scroll over. You see these different columns here. I just want to scroll over till I get to the tempo column. And boom, the tempo of the file has been detected. And here it is, 172 beats per minute, right? You can take that information, lock it into your session, start editing, start putting in your files on the grid, all of that. But that is just a little simple hack to kind of get a quick idea of what the tempo is of any audio file that has a tempo in it. All right, so this next hack is definitely one of my favorites. It's going to be a huge time saver, whether you're recording or mixing. Importing files using import session data allows you to import entire audio tracks and all of the plugins and processing that you have on it. Now, this is one that I use often, like especially if you buy any of my templates from wavy.com, you can use this same method to work with some of the tracks and the effects tracks that I have in those sessions, in those templates on a session that you might already have existing. So a lot of times what'll be the case for me is that a client will send me a session and now I have this existing session, but I want to use some effects that I might have used in another session. So what I'll do is I'm just going to scroll to the bottom and select the last track because that's going to be where the new tracks get imported to. And I'm going to use the import session data shortcut, Shift Option I. Or you can go to the file menu, choose import session data. All right. Once you do that, you simply want to, from this dialog box, choose a session or session template file that you want to import data from. All right. It's just telling me that, hey, the time is a little different, but that doesn't matter. Now I have this list of all the tracks that are in this other session. What I'm going to focus on right now is just these effects tracks. So maybe my parallel compression that I had already set up in another session, a quarter note delay, eighth note delay, a reverb, and another track, right? I can import those in. You see importing session data. I can also import a whole bunch of other stuff. If I go to track data to import, you see it's a whole list of stuff that we can import here, including any other media files too. So I'm just going to hit OK. And just like magic, right? After that little ball spins, you see that those effects tracks, I'm going to switch over to the mix window. You see that those effects tracks, my delays, right? My parallel compression tracks, those tracks from another session are now here in this session, making it super quick and easy for me to start to mix, right? So now instead of having to recreate a reverb or recreate a delay, I already have them ready to go because I used import session data. This next tip is a little bit along the lines of using like templates and importing session data to get your effects, but it's going to be saving and recalling track presets. Pro Tools also has another method that we can use to just make stuff a little bit quicker for us. So let me go over, I'm going to just go and keep picking on like this verse lead track. Let me go and unfreeze it. All right. And basically what I can do is I'm gonna just right click on the plugin selector, and basically I'm gonna hit save track preset, right? So here I can choose to save this as a track preset. I can go and add a category. So let's do that now. I'm gonna add a new category. Let's call it Wavy, right? And we're gonna create it in, all right, fine. We'll create it in the Avid folder. I hit OK. A category with this name is already exists. All right, we're gonna replace it. All right, and we're gonna name it verse, right, or lead verse. I'm gonna naming this preset lead verse. So anytime I have a lead verse, I want to pull up these same plugins, Auto Tune, the Pro Q3, yada yada yada, right? And now I can also choose which track data I want to recall with this too. So I can choose any sends or anything like that, right? Similar to the import session data dialog box, right? I can choose which track data I want to import. Or if I want to also attach the clips to it too, I can. I'm not going to right now. So I'm just going to say that to the Wavy category, and its name is lead verse. Hit OK. Boom. Now, let's just say I got a blank track or I'm in a whole nother session, because it does not have to be in this session. It's going to be saved with your Pro Tools. I'm going to come over here and then say, hey, instead of just putting a plugin on here, I got a whole track preset that I want to recall. So I go to recall, I go to the Avid, I go down to Wavy, and you see the Wavy lead verse. Boom. I'm going to click on that. It's just going to take a second. Right, you see all the inserts are recalled. Now I'm going to also go back and recall my sends. Same way. Boom, and then the send popped up as well. All right, so this is a really easy way to recall and save your track presets. It's just that easy. Now this can save you a lot of time on processes that you know you're going to do over and over and over. Maybe you made a special effect using some virtual instruments, and you have a special chain of how you process this 808 that you created, right? You can save that as a track preset, and instead of having to create it over and over, you can just simply recall it in your next session. All right, so next up, this is a simple one. I was super excited when I actually found this out, but it's the type ahead search function. So for one, a few iterations ago in Pro Tools, or a few updates ago, I should say, they introduced the ability to be able to search for plugins, right? So instead of just scrolling through this whole list of plugins and stuff like that, you can just hit this search, and then you say, you know what, I want the Smack compressor, and boom, there it is, right? There is, and you can do the same thing with sends, right? And the dope thing is you can do the same with your inputs and outputs as well. It just makes stuff so easy. So instead of like looking for a bus, if I'm trying to send to my reverb bus, for example, instead of just going and then bus and then going through this bus menu, okay, there it is. You can just simply type in the search. But here's the thing, you don't even have to click this search. If I just click on a send or insert selector and start typing, right, it's gonna automatically start searching for me. So that saves me one extra step. I'm sure you didn't know that. If you ain't know that, go ahead, drop down in the comments and share this video too. If I teach you anything on this video that you didn't know, it is your responsibility to share it for me. All right, how about that? That's the trade-off. I teach you for free. All you gotta do is share the video. So again, plugins too, man. If I got a plugin that I want, maybe instead of the Smack, I want the distressor, I'm just gonna simply click on the plugin selector and start typing, and boom, I don't type that fast, but it still helps me because I don't have to do any extra clicking or searching and scrolling through all of the list of plugins. That's the type ahead feature on your Pro Tools. It works for inputs, outputs, inserts, sends, all that. All right, this next feature, man, I'm giving away so much game today. I don't know why I'm just giving away so much game, but it's cool though, because I like y'all and you subscribe to the channel, right? I mean, you are subscribed, right? So you good on this one. This feature right here, this is a super major dope hack right here. Let me just get rid of some of these extra tracks that I don't need first, right? Now, what I'm going to do in this session, and this might be a little bit advanced depending on your level, but I'm going to set up a sub master. If you don't know how to set up a sub master, go find one of my other videos and learn what a sub master is and how to set it up in the session. But if you do know how to set up a sub master, make sure you watch this section because it's going to make your life so much easier. So let's just set up a sub master. Basically, I'm going to select all these tracks, right? And then I'm going to route them all out. I'm going to use the do to selected function so I can affect multiple tracks at one time just by holding shift and option, right? And I'm going to route these out to a new track. And we're just going to call this my sub master to keep it simple. Sub master is always going to be a stereo aux input track in this case. All right. So my sub master, right, it has been created. Basically, all of the tracks in my session are now being processed here first. This way I have one place where I can process all of the whole mix in the session. I can do synths, whatever. I can set it up all here, set the level of the whole session. So this is basically everything in my mix right here on this sub master. Now, as I create new tracks and and stuff like that in the session, watch what happens, right? See, the new track automatically defaulted to the main output that I had originally. That's because my default output bus is set to that monitor left, right. I can change that so that whenever I create new tracks, if I'm using a submaster, they will automatically be routed to the submaster. Now, you're probably saying, why does that matter? Why can't I just change it? Because if you're using a submaster in this manner, so many times you'll forget that maybe some effect isn't actually going through your submaster. And then when you go and bounce it down, it's not going to get any processing that you have on the submaster. And sometimes it won't even be included in the bounce at all. So you would have done some of this work all for nothing to go and listen to it or send it to your client later and they tell you something is missing in the mix that you created. It's not what you're listening to in the studio. Because even though this track is not routed through my submaster, I'll still be able to hear it because it's still going to my main outputs. But if I bounce this down and I start putting limiters and EQ and stuff over my whole mix, then this track is not going to get affected by that. So let's get rid of that real quick. We don't want that. Here's what you're going to do if you're using submasters. Go to the setup menu, choose IO. You're going to go to your bus page, right? And what you want to do is choose the default output bus. So you see my default output bus is my monitored path left and right. I don't want that. I want this to go actually to my bus, whether it's mono or stereo. I want it to go to this bus in the submaster bus. And then I'm going to do the same thing for this stereo path. We're going to go down the bus and make sure that that's set to stereo. And now hit OK. And now whenever I make a new track, it automatically routes out through my submaster, and I don't have any chance of leaving anything out of my mix. Wow, this is a long lesson, right? But I hope you've been taking notes because it's still getting better, all right? Next thing we're going to talk about is playlisting, and I'm going to do this really, really quickly so that we're not here all day. But playlisting is basically going to be the ability to save everything that you record on that same track. If I go over to the track view selector of this verse track and I expand to the playlist view, what you will notice is that during this verse, we actually took the take of that verse several times, right? Now, and we do that to get it right, to make sure that, hey, the performance is where we want it to be. And it also gives me the ability to later, after the recording session, go back and choose which take is the best, or even pick parts of it, right? So maybe this first line or the second line, maybe I don't want just this word from this section. I can choose that part from any of the takes that we've done since we had to do it so many times. And so instead of deleting anything, what you always want to do, I'm gonna just go back to my main view. Whenever you're recording, instead of deleting, you just want to make a new playlist. Now, the shortcut to do that is to be holding the control key and hit the backslash key. That's the one right up under delete, right? So you hold control and backslash, and that gives you a new playlist. I'm going to undo that. But you can also go to the track, the little drop down playlist selector right here next to the track's nameplate, and you can choose to make a new playlist Or if you simply just want to duplicate the playlist, that's great for editing. So if I'm going to experiment with some edits or something like that, I'll just duplicate it. It looks like nothing happened, but if I delete that and then I go over and I go back to the other playlist that I had, you will notice that it's still there. All right, so one super hack when using playlists is using these shortcuts. So I'm just gonna make a selection of a section here, right? And I'm gonna hold the shift and command keys and then use my up and down arrows. So the shift and command on a Mac, if you're on a PC, that's gonna be shift and control. So I'm just gonna hit my down arrow, and this is automatically cycling through the available playlist, cycling through all of the other takes that we've already recorded, and I can listen to this in real time and see what it sounds like. Now, if you see the little home button, just the little home thing popped up, so that once we get back to the original one we started from, it lets us know. This is super, super useful, man. That's why I save everything, save every take using playlists. Maybe just this small section we want to replace. Well, we can hold shift and command, use our arrow keys, and experiment with every other take. How did this phrase sound when we did it then? What was the timing, the pitch, and all of that? And then choose the best one for the song. Man, that's just a killer hack. Use those playlists. All right, so I'm glad y'all made it to this part of the video, man. And this is like really the bonus, right? This is the one of the biggest tips, and that's gonna be to actually use the stock plugins. Pro Tools comes with so many amazing stock plugins straight out the box that if I would have started using them and got familiar with them sooner, I could have saved hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Plugins are so expensive. Let me show you how to categorize and find all of your Avid plugins. First thing you want to do though first is make sure that you've actually downloaded all of these plugins. Some of them you have to download individually. So log into your avid.com account, go to my products, look at all the products that they have available, and spend the time to download them if you haven't yet. All right. Now, here's how I will categorize them to make sure I can find everything. I go to setup and go to preferences. In the display tab, you'll see organized plugin menu by. It got category and manufacturer. By default, yours probably says category only. I'm gonna hit category and manufacturer. When you hit OK, next time that you go to insert a plugin, you will not only see the categories, but you'll also see the manufacturers as well. And if we go to the Avid list, you'll see that there are a lot of plugins that are already included with your plugin subscription or your license that you already bought. So don't sleep on these plugins just because they came for free. Actually, you paid for them and you're constantly paying for them every single month. So a super hack right here, the game is stop buying stuff that you don't need. Look and get familiar with these stock plugins. All right. If you want to learn more about Pro Tools and become proficient and learn the industry standard DAW in a systematic way, no matter if you're a beginner or if you've been using Pro Tools for over a decade or more, you're going to learn some stuff that you never thought you would learn. And especially if you're at the beginning of your career, you'll learn to do things in the right way and really accelerate your workflow. Click the link down in the description below to sign up for my Pro Tools user certification course. It is a official Avid course. All right. You're going to be recognized all throughout the world and your credentials will be listed on the avid.com website. I'm Wavy Wayne from Wavy.wav.com. Thanks for watching this video. Be dope.